Wow, guys, what a rough episode this week. This episode of From was just emotionally intense from front to back. Some of the best drama, acting, and writing we've ever seen from the show, and as a result, I think we have one of the best episodes so far on our hands. And most of this episode is dealing with the fallout of the end of the premiere last week, where we have Kenny's mother getting brutally murdered in front of Boyd. The monsters set this whole thing up in order to break down Boyd's psyche and, as a result, the rest of the town. Because as we will discuss in today's episode, Boyd represents order. I have a list of themes in today's episode here, and the first one I have listed here is order breaking down, because Boyd represents the sheriff. He represents order. He started off the series ringing the bell to get everybody to go inside, to start closing up their houses so that the monsters can be kept at bay. He is the guy who found the talismans. He's the guy who told everyone that there is a future, that they will get home someday, that he will take them there. And he's the guy that everyone looks to in a crisis for a solution. So he's the guy. He was a veteran. He was in a war zone. So he has this experience of going through tough experiences. So breaking him down breaks everyone else down as well. That's why they left him alive. That we see in this scene, the monsters are more clever than they were letting on, and they set up this plan so that if he died in this moment, it wouldn't have been as powerful as if he lives in this moment and he breaks down, and as a result, everyone else loses hope. I think that's the goal of the monsters there. They just want to impact people's mental psyche. It's a spiritual battle at the end of the day, like we said, and you really feel it in this episode. So we have Jade and Victor in the bar, and they're holding up for the night, and Jade has to go out. Here's a symbol of redemption. There's a lot of themes of redemption here. But when Jade showed up, he's a tech bro who sold his company, got really big. He was a kind of selfishly oriented person when he first showed up. And now he is here helping Boyd, and he's broken down by what's happened. So he's been redeemed in this episode. We'll see a lot of that in this episode here. And we just have Boyd breaking down when he's released. He's repeating something, a Chinese phrase. He's trying to phonetically remember it so he can tell it to Kenny. Right off the bat, we're just emotionally devastated. Incredible performance by Harold here. Just really, really captivating stuff. And then Kenny and Jim are in the cabin. Jim found food, so supposedly should be something very triumphant, because the major conflict of last episode was we're running out of food, we're getting desperate. This should be good news and should really bring everybody back, but the town has successfully broken down everybody. They don't even react to the fact that there's food now. It really should be a triumphant thing, but it's not, and Kenny shows happiness in this moment, and it is very short-lived when they get back to the town. So that's what you should get there, but you should also get, why are they finding it in this place? And that's because there are still positive forces at play. Even though there were these sinister looking, I called them scarecrows last week, and they seem to have the power to keep monsters away or keep some sort of evil at bay, while the rest of the soil in the town is now rotten and the crops cannot be grown properly. Now we have somewhere driven by water. Maybe water's a symbol of positivity as well. Now around the lake, there's food there. So there is still something at work that is making everything positive. So that's what I get from that scene there. Then we start off with Henry and Tabitha in his house. She just passed out on the doorstep. He turned out to call the police. He doesn't trust her. He's confused. He sees this lunchbox that his son had. He doesn't believe it. He doesn't know what to make of it. And he is threatening her with a gun. He seems almost sinister in this first scene here. You learn later that the gun isn't even loaded. So to me, this is a man broken down by grief. In the same way Victor, his son, is broken down by grief because he's survived in the town the longest. He's had to deal with everyone dying over and over again. And now in this episode, he's breaking down again. So he also is experiencing kind of similar to what Henry experienced, where he lost his whole family in one night, doesn't know what happened. And Victor's kind of reliving the same thing over and over again as well. So they're going through something similar. And we have him here with a gun that kind of just represents his attempt to claim some sense of order in this chaos that he's been living. And he can't even bring himself to load it, because if it's loaded, then it's an agent of chaos in and of itself, and it can inflict violence upon people. Maybe he's even worried that he might turn that violent force against himself. So he can't even bring himself to load it, but he bought a gun all that time ago just so he could feel some sense of security. It's a psychological thing. It's the same way that Boyd and Kenny, they carry guns because they kind of embody the sheriff and the deputy, and they have these guns on them even though they know that they're not really going to affect the monsters in a significant way. They can't kill them with the guns, but the guns are there because they make them feel a little bit safer. They give them some sense of authority. So it's a similar thing here with Henry and the gun. But Tabitha this episode just needs to get through to him, and it just sounds so crazy. It sounds so impossible. But she says something about the children in the tower, and that's what gets through to him, because he remembers what his wife said. And the whole reason she was sent here, she realizes that she was sent here. So she realizes that there are forces at play that are guiding her where she is going, when she rejected that in the conversation with the priest in the last episode. So she is kind of growing along the way. But she realizes she was sent here to find something in the basement, learning about the history of the town and how people outside of the town itself seem to have a connection to it, in the same way like Sarah was hearing voices, and now Julie's hearing voices in this episode. So we have people who are connected to the town even outside the town. So we'll get back to that later on. But I love how we have to break through to him, because it's just impossible what she's saying. If he just accepted it right off the bat, it wouldn't make any sense at all. So that is a great scene. And here we have another scene of redemption. A lot of these with Sarah, because Sarah did some truly evil stuff in this clinic here, in this high school they've made into a clinic. Christy's here. She says she's got to get out of there right now, because this is where Sarah killed Kenny's dad, essentially. She murdered somebody here in I think the first episode, and she left the door open for Kenny's father to get killed. So she did all of these evil things because she had these voices telling her to do that. But now, in this episode, we're trying to redeem her a little bit. Last episode, we had her saving the kids, helping them out when they were getting chased by a monster. And now we have her breaking the news to show that she cares a little bit about Christy and Kenny and everybody else in the town, that she is turning a new leaf, so to speak. So, and even when she was hearing the voices, they were telling her that if she did these things, they would all leave. So she does kind of have this motivation. She wants to help people now that she's out of that mindset of listening to these voices. So that's one of the themes of this episode. You see it a lot, redemption, and tragedy brings people together. You will see this later in the episode as well. Even though bad things are trying to break down Boyd's psyche, it can bring people together and make them stronger as well. That's another theme in this episode. So this brutal scene, now it's officially winter. It's snowing, dreadful, and now her body's here, and it's just a rough scene, man. And we see the brutal flashbacks, and as he's walking away, he's assaulted by these visions of the past. He can't bring himself to even make a statement. He's usually the guy who has a speech, who can give a pep talk, and that's why he's in the position that he's in. He gives people hope. He can't do that now. And even later in the episode, when he's outside the funeral, he keeps turning around to say something, and then he can't do it. So in this moment, he's just absolutely broken down. Donna runs at him, and they have a confrontation as well. And now we have Victor, who's kind of a kid, breaking to Ethan like she's really dead. Ethan can't believe it. They're kind of on the same level, because Victor has the mind of a child, because he's broken down by that grief as well. He leaves, and then we don't see him again. So that's a mystery in this episode. We don't know where he went. We don't know where he's going. We're doing something with that probably next week. Ethan clutching her blanket, Kenny's mother's blanket, is just a really tragic image, and he brings it to the funeral later, and just so many things in this episode just get me emotional, man. It was really a rough watch. And here we have Tabitha showing Henry articles to show, hey, people really went missing and all of that. And then it's the lighthouse thing that gets through to him. And then we have this showdown here with Donna, and Donna is starting to lose hope as well. She kind of lashes out at Boyd, almost like he should have been able to prevent this, because that's what his role is in the town, is to bring that order, to be that sheriff. And he just couldn't do it this time, and he needed to save the animals, just like they were talking about last week. but now she can't take it. She's like, I can't believe that I believed you when you said that we were going home someday. And that really was crucial to the town, was that vision of hope. And that's what people really need when it comes to going through life. You can't go through life if you don't see the potential, at least, for something better down the line. So it's really tough. B plot of this episode is Fatima's pregnancy, and it's going bad. She's losing teeth. It's really bad. She's malnourished. She hasn't eaten in 3 days. And Marielle, here, another symbol of redemption is Marielle is not somebody who's trusted in the town. She's not somebody who the people are comfortable with. They don't know her. She was an addict. She's not exactly a doctor, but she is a nurse. So there's all of these things that show, she needs redeeming as well, at least in the eyes of the town. And she does it in this episode. So Fatima's pregnancy is another conflict that's going throughout the episode. I speculated last week that there's something sinister about it, and it seems to me like that we're continuing down that road here. It's not just that the pregnancy is potentially going bad. I think there's something sinister about the life that was created, because it wasn't supposed to happen. They said it was a miracle, but I don't think it is. I think there's something crazy about it. We shall see if she gives birth to a monster or something crazy. So here we have Boyd getting a pep talk from Christy, and he just won't accept it. But they go through the past. I love that scene there. And even bringing in the past, the fact that the truck is somebody's and all the people they've lost, just going through all the emotions, just working it out. And then Kenny can't even believe what happened when he gets back, even though he knows in his heart, but he's calling out for his mom. It's just a devastating scene, man. And here we are in the diner, and another devastating scene. And he asks Christy to take care of his mother's body. Just is rough in this episode. So everything's supposedly okay with the baby. She just needs to eat more. And she does in this episode. It gets a little weird. And then the town, I think, is messing with Kenny, because we know that these music boxes just play music at random times, but they play a happy song about celebrating. It's the town mocking him. The town is like, we are celebrating the fact that you're devastated right now. The fact that your mother is dead. This crucial part of the town is no longer here. They're mocking him. They definitely are. It's definitely intentional. It's definitely these spiritual forces at play, just trying to get into his head, because Kenny is also a symbol of order. So that is definitely something that is recurring throughout this episode. Here we have a scene of guilt and suffering. So we have Jim feeling guilty that he left the kids in this situation. Julie's expressing that he should have been here, that Tabitha's lost, even though he left because Ethan was leaving. He kind of wanted to stop that from happening. So he felt like he had to go, and now he's really realizing things from his daughter's perspective, that she had to play parent when her parents were devastated by the death of her baby brother Thomas, and they were about to divorce. Like, that was what was happening, and she had to be kind of another parent figure for Ethan because her parents were distracted by the grief. So the grief and suffering in that case kept people apart. So it's kind of the opposite of the theme of this episode, bringing people back together. So there is a little bit more complexity there to that theme. Now we have Tabitha on Henry's side. Henry takes her through Victor's room, and they see all the drawings from the past. And here we have a scene that's almost like kind of darkly comedic, where, you know, Christy has never had to dress up a body for a funeral before, and Jade is here to help. But before they do that, Jade says how he used to play dress up as a kid, and then they cut to the body after he's like, we're gonna do just fine, and then the body's really, really badly mangled. So that, I think it's supposed to be like dark comedy, levity, and I couldn't even bring myself to that place in this time, just feeling this oppressive feeling. But I think it was smartly written there. I didn't know that they were going to do dark comedy like that in the show. Here we have Ellis and Fatima separating. You know, Fatima says, you got to go see your father. If I was Ellis, I would have said, okay, I got to walk you up to bed, though. I'm not going to leave you alone. But we got to have this scene here where she eats rotted food. Another sign that something is wrong. Food that should make her sick is attractive to her, and she chows down on this food that should be sickening to her, but it's what her baby needs right now. So there's something sinister about this baby. It's just not right. But we also have the woman who was beating on the bathroom door last episode, we have her here to apologize for how she was acting. So that's another scene of redemption, just another little scene. This tragedy made her feel guilty for what was going on, and she says there's no excuse for being a jerk, basically. And that's just yet another scene of that theme coming up. So here we have Ethan going to see Donna, and Victor's not here in the room. And then it was really touching when Donna was like, Kenny's mother loved you. I think it was just a beautiful scene, just really sad. Then we have this scene with Christy dressing up the body, and here Sarah, yet again, trying to redeem herself, bringing the dress that Kenny's mother said was her favorite, and they put it on her, and that's what she's going to wear for the funeral. It was just another brutal, devastating scene. And here we have Kenny, and I like that he's angry. It makes sense to me. He wants to go after these monsters, and he's going to use the alcohol to try to burn them like how they burned the dead one before. Here's where we find out what Kenny's mother said. You know, take care of him. He's all alone now. Just really, really heartbreaking, hard to watch scene, man. I can't even talk about it. And here we got the funeral scene. Kenny coming in, just rough, man. And here we got Julie coming up to Sarah and saying, I'm experiencing similar things to what you experienced. You know, I'm starting to hear things after her experience being taken over in her sleep. So I wonder if her compatriots in that regard, Randall, I wonder if he's feeling that. You know, we'll have to wait and see. But I think, you know, she's developing some sort of connection to the place in a dark way, similar to how Sarah was. So that's definitely not a good thing. And here we go into the basement. This is what Tabitha's here to see. And it turns out that Victor's mother was also an artist, in the same way Victor seems to be drawing things that show the future or show the past. Now we have somebody from outside of the town who is drawing or painting very accurate depictions of the children that Tabitha is seeing, of the lighthouse. We see the diner, we see the colony house. So there's all of these things that nobody should be able to see. And Henry says that this was spurred on by the use of psychedelic substances. So these substances are often said to induce a spiritual experience in people. And a lot of people have reported that they see things, that they hear the voice of God or something like that. So with those substances, she was able to tap into this greater spiritual force. And I have to wonder if, because she was painting these things, she kind of became obsessed with it. Maybe she had to free the children from the tower. Maybe she seeked this place out to begin with, and it was her plan to go there with Victor and her daughter. I wonder if it was always intentional, and I have to wonder if we're going to find the mother at some point, or at least find out what really happened to her. So there's something there. That storyline is not over. We have the church here. We have all of these little scenes from Fromville, and she ends on finding the boy in white. And this, I think, is what's going to lead us to the next episode. So we end with this in this scene. So she has to find out, who is this boy in white, and why is he trying to help her? Is he trying to help her? I kind of speculated, you know, he was like creepy and smiling and doing weird stuff in the first season, and then it seemed like he's trying to help in the second season. She got out because of him, and he seems to be sympathetic. So we have to wonder what he actually wants. So we shall find out in the next episode, I believe. Here we have that scene with Boyd. He can't give that epic speech that he needs, but he has a plan now. Again, this is yet again something good coming from something bad. That's something we get a lot in this show. And I think that this is a symbol that they needed to go through this so that Boyd can get more information. He uses this experience, even though he can't give the town the comfort that they need right now. Maybe he will be able to if he can find something tangible. So they want to capture the monster and get information out of it. I'm really curious how that's going to go, but I can see on Ellis's face here that he's thinking about the fact that he's about to be a father, that he's a married man now, and there's more than just him he has to worry about. I can see that on his face when his dad is telling him, you got to help me with this. I don't know if he's going to go through with it. I have a feeling, maybe he won't last the season, man. I don't know. And then we end with a couple mysteries. Here we got Julie, who just said she's hearing voices. Ethan goes with her. They're going off to do something. We will find out in the next episode. I'm not really sure where she's going, but it's almost dark, so I'm not comfortable with it. And then here we have the phone ringing. Jim's phone ringing. So it's been a while since we've seen the phone in the show, so they made sure to really focus it in this shot here. And just a little film school lesson for fun, something they teach you in film school and just painting and art and photography. There's this thing called the rule of thirds, and basically the screen is split into thirds, so about here and about here, vertically and horizontally as well, so you split it here and here, and the intersections between the thirds is typically where points of interest are located. So they make sure in this shot to put that phone at this point of interest so that you know to look at it and you're thinking about it and you're aware of it. So I knew at that moment that I saw this shot, I knew that phone was going to start ringing, because once you start seeing that rule of thirds, you're going to see it everywhere, even right here. He's on that third right there. So just so you guys know, I might have just ruined shows for you forever because you're going to see that everywhere. But now the phone rings, and on the other side is somebody who says that it's Thomas, the dead baby son of Jim and Tabitha. So I don't think it's actually Thomas, because Thomas is dead. I mean, maybe there's an afterlife thing going on, but I think it's more likely that it is yet another voice trying to get through to them, trying to break them and just tear down their psyches and toy with them. So that's what I think. It's the same way he heard a voice on the radio that was messing with him again, telling him that his wife shouldn't have been digging in the basement. So there's definitely something to this, and I'm really curious where we're going to go with it. We got a lot of mysteries. We got a lot of things to solve. But yeah, this was a fantastic episode, one of the best of the show. I give it like a 9 out of 10. Seriously, just some of the best work, and I'm really looking forward to next week. Let me know your guys' theories and what you think of the episode in the comment section below. And with that, it's been your boy Shuggy. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.